my hand was to my side and he reached down and he held it. And again, that whole feeling washed over me. And he always says too, yeah, I grabbed your hand and I've never let go, and he hasn't.
Wow.
And we walked, and then after that, we were like this together all the time. We went to go see movies. We went to the park. We went to the zoo. We went everywhere. And he was very much a jokester, and I'm not. I was always very serious. So he taught me to kind of loosen up a bit and more of the world. He was wiser about the way of the world because, one, he was older than me, and by 2.5 years, and he was a boy. So boys, are really out there and they know. And I was kind of not naive, but I really was sheltered in a way. So we just had a wonderful summer, and then he went and volunteered to go to the army. And I was just beyond. And I said, why did you do that? He says, oh, they're going to draft me anyway. I'm going to turn 18, in October, so they'll draft me.
What was going through your mind when he first told you that he was going to join the army?
My heart, it was like somebody just squeezed my heart. And I says, they're killing people there. They're bombing people. He says, it'll be an adventure. I tell him, he's still a 7-year-old. He's still a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
he's got that.
Yeah.
He's just a guy.
Yeah.
And I had a St. Christopher, a gold St. Christopher. And so I took it off and I put it on him. I says, don't ever take this off. Do not ever take this off. You're coming back to me. Nothing's going to happen to you, but don't ever take this off. He says, okay, all right. And he went off to Vietnam. And I would get his letters, and they were smudged with his fingerprints from the mud. It's damp and stuff. And I could smell the earth from there. And I remembered when I was in the 7th grade, we read Pearl S. Buck's The Good Earth. And I swore that at one time I wanted to go to China because that book had such a big impact on me. But yet I was smelling this earth, and I thought, I wonder if this is what she meant by the good earth or what. It just, all these metaphors were just going through my head of trying to make sense of it all. There was like a lot of stuff going in, and I'm trying to filter it. But I knew for sure that he was going to come back. So he did indeed come back to me, which I was very happy for. And from that point forward, it was just, we moved forward. And one day he says, why don't we go to, it's going to.
How many years was that?
Let's see, he was in 2 years. He was in the military, came out. So 18, 19, 20 now he is, or he was 21. And I was 18. And by then I had graduated from high school. I was working.
Did you guys write letters to each other?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We wrote letters to one another.
There was no email back then.
No,
FaceTime.
No email, FaceTime. It was all letters. But so we wrote letters. We stayed in touch. But when he came back, the love was still there. It didn't diminish in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it expanded. And we were dating. And then I says, I want to move out. He wanted to move out too. And I came from a Latino household where everybody has a wedding, they get married, and there's this big thing. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to get married.
Oh, why not?
I don't know. I was just kind of, I guess it was the 60s, and it was, it was all about free love and all this, hippies and all that. Not that I was, but it was just a different frame of thought than what the 50s were. But my husband has been my biggest champion. Every Valentine's Day, when we celebrate, we sit and we say, do you want to keep doing this? And he'll say yes. Do you?
Every year?
Every year. We've done that.
Not on your anniversary?
Yeah. We say, do you want to keep doing this?
Yeah. Valentine's Day or anniversary?
Yeah, on Valentine's. Valentine's Day is our anniversary.
Oh, okay. There you go.
We went to Vegas on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's right. Right.
That's how we got married. Yeah. But we do that. And we just do it as a check-in. And we've always kept the communication open, me more than him, because he's much more, he thinks and he doesn't express it, which created some of our conflict early on, because I was like, tell me with words, what is it that you're thinking? I can't climb into your brain and think. I know something's going on, and those would be the arguments or discussions.
What's the lowest moment you guys have had?
Oh, when our son died.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought you said almost.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is that something you want to touch on? Or
I can. I'll hold that for a bit. Okay. But first, to get back to our challenges,
okay.
It would be the challenge is when, you bury your mother, your father.
Yeah, of course.
And he was not afraid of death, which I love him for. Neither with his mother, so we were there for all of them. And I don't know if I want to share this. I died once.
What do you mean?
I died once. I coded. I was having problems with my heart.
Okay.
It's a hot summer night, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm dehydrated. I'm trying to hydrate. Listen to my heart with my stethoscope. I said, ooh, that's not good. I got to go to the hospital. So the kids weren't home. They were in high school now, or even older, I think. And Frank came home from the market, and I said, I have to go to the emergency room. He looked at me and says, why? He thought I was joking. Why? I put the stethoscope on him. I put it to my heart, and he says, holy shit, we got to go right now. I said, hold on. I said, I got to take a shower. He says, your heart, you got to take a shower. I says, I know people. You're going to take me to the hospital. I might know somebody there, some of my students. I said, I can't. I'm all sweaty. So I went, took a shower, put some comfy clothes on.
Presentation's important.
We went to the hospital. I won't say the hospital. We went to the hospital, and they took me right back in. I was on the gurney, and they had my husband wait outside because they were triaging me, trying to figure out what happened. They hooked me up, and I was out.
For how long?
A couple of minutes, a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And what I know is that I was floating above. I left my body. I was looking down on my body, and the nurse was calling the code, and they were on me, and she was pushing fluids, and
You could see that.
I could see it.
Okay.
I saw myself there, and I saw the doctor, and I saw the nurse, and I saw heard what they were saying. And I looked around because I knew my village always follows me. I knew my village was with me. I said, oh, no. I'm not going anywhere. I said, I have 2 boys to still raise. I got stuff. No, this is not my time. I am not going anywhere. And the next thing I knew, boom, I'm back in my body. And I gasped, and I looked, and the doctor came over to me. He was really nice, the African-American doctor. Young lady, you're not allowed to die in my ED. And I said, I hadn't planned on it. And he said, okay, we're going to have to admit you. All right. So they admitted me. And I had a close call again because the nurse came in. She said, Mrs. Chandler, when you're feeling like that, you got to tell me something. And I wanted to say, I can't move. It's like you're paralyzed. Your heart is trying to beat. So it's like you can't move a finger. She pushed something in my line. She called the doctor. And so one of the doctors was going to come up. But before he came up, there was 4 other doctors that came to see me. Once they each said something different was wrong with my heart, from I needed a transplant to I needed valve replacement to it was electrical activity, just all this stuff.
Okay.
And I'm looking at them, I'm just exhausted. So they left, and I sent my husband home. I said, just go home. I'm tired. I just need to sleep. I'll be fine. Just go home. He said, but I can't. I said, go home, sleep. So when he left, I looked and I said, I know you're all here. I can feel you here. And I said, it's not my time to go. Please, Grandpa, my grandmother was a big healer too. I says, please pray for me. Let me stay. I want to stay. I need to stay. So I fell asleep, but then I woke up. And I looked to my right, and this man was coming towards me. He had white gauze pants on. He was brown, like me. I couldn't see his face, though. There was a cloud in front of his face. And he walked towards me. He lowered the railing of the bed. He put his hand underneath my torso, and he pulled me close to him. And I told him, I don't think this is professional demeanor. The least in the hospital would frown on this behavior. And he went, shh, shh, shh. Everything is going to be all right. And then I took a deep breath, and I smelled heaven. And then I looked at the foot of my bed, and my grandparents were there. All of my relatives were there. They were praying. They were chanting. Even my grandmother, she always wore these slippers that went ch 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 when you walked. She was doing a little jig there. They were happy. And I looked at them, and I looked at him, and I just went to sleep, the best sleep I had had. I woke up in the morning, and I felt so good, and I looked around, and then another doctor came in. I call him Doogie Howser. Do you remember that show, Doogie Howser?
I know the name, but I don't have
it was a young genius boy. He was like all of 12 or something, and he was a doctor.
Okay.
And so he looked like little Doogie Howser, and he had this big coat on, white coat, right? Too big for him. And he came to my bedside, and I'm looking at him, and he says, Mrs. Chandler, I don't agree with my colleagues. I don't think there's anything wrong with your heart. He says, we're going to take you back down for another scan. He says, and if there's anything, we got the OR right next to it. We'll take you right in. I signed all the paperwork. I said, okay. But I was feeling really good. So he took me down, And he was really nice because he had me tilting and he showed me the camera because he knew I was a nurse. He showed me and I could see, he says, look at ejection fraction, fine. He says, all your valves, everything's working beautifully. He says, I think you're okay. He says, you just have to take a beta blocker for the rest of your life. I said, I can do that. Okay. And that was it. And I came home and I never told my husband that. For the longest time, I didn't tell him. But coming home felt, God, I was looking at everything, how the light was shining, how the noise that the leaves on the trees were making, everything just felt so vibrant. And I didn't say anything for a good while until I spoke with my husband one day. And I said, I need to explain this. Oh, and the reason I had to is because I said, before we go home, can you stop me at the mall? He said, you almost died and you want to go shopping? I said, I'll explain to you later. So we went in and then they had these shelves, rows and rows of colognes. I went to so many and I was smelling and smelling and smelling, looking for that fragrance. I could not find it.
Of course not.
Yeah. I said, okay. Why it was a long time before I told my husband what happened. And then he says, you're not going to smell that until you go to heaven. And I said, I know. And I said, God, it smelled good. It smelled so good.
Can you describe it?
It wasn't flowery. It was a clean smell and fresh smell. Kind of like the ocean, but then something else. I've tried to describe, I can't describe it. It isn't anything, it just smells.
Well, it's only fitting that,
yeah,
it's indescribable.
Yeah.
You can't
Unless
describe
somebody who has had the experience and maybe tries to create the perfume from it, maybe. I don't know. I've never researched that, but that would be interesting. Now, flash forward to my son.